and we get to the second segment, to the second nominees that I want to present here, and this is called True Crime, or as they call it, I think, Fact Crime at the Edgars. The 5 nominees for this award are Slenderman, Online Obsession, Mental Illness, and the Violent Crime of Two Midwestern Girls by Kathleen Hale, published by Grove Press on August 16, last year. On May 31, 2014, in the Milwaukee suburb of Waukesha, Wisconsin, 2 12-year-old girls attempted to stab their classmate to death. Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier's violence was extreme, but what seemed even more frightening was that they committed their crime under the influence of a figure born by the internet, the so-called Slenderman. Yet the even more urgent aspect of the story, that the children suffered from undiagnosed mental illnesses, often went overlooked in coverage of the case. Slenderman tells that full story for the first time in deeply researched detail, using court transcripts, police reports, individual reporting, and exclusive interviews. Morgan and Anissa were bound together by the shared love of geeky television shows and animals, and the discovery of the user-uploaded scary stories on the creepypasta website could have been nothing more than a brief phase. But Morgan was suffering from early onset childhood schizophrenia. She believed that she had seen Slenderman long before discovering him online, and the only way to stop him from killing her family was to bring him a sacrifice. Morgan's best friend, Peyton Bella Leutner, whom Morgan and Anissa planned to stab to death on the night of Morgan's 12th birthday. Bella survived the attack, but she was deeply traumatized, while Morgan and Anissa were immediately sent to jail, and the severity of their crime meant that they would be prosecuted as adults. There, as Morgan continued to suffer from worsening mental illness after being denied antipsychotics, her life became more and more surreal. Slenderman is both a page-turning true crime story and a search for justice. Tell Me Everything, the story of a private investigation by Erica Krause, published on March 15 last year by Flatiron. Erica Krause is one of those faces. I don't know why I'm telling you this, people say, spilling confessions. In fall 2002, Erica accepts a new contract job investigating lawsuits as a private investigator. The role seems perfect for her, but she quickly realizes she has no idea what she's doing. Then, a lawyer named Grayson assigns her to investigate a sexual assault, a college student who was attacked by football players and recruits at a party a year earlier. Erica knows she should turn the assignment down. Her own history with sexual violence makes it all too personal, but she takes the job anyway. Inspired by Grayson's conviction that he could help change things forever, and maybe she could too. Over the next 5 years, Erica learns everything she can about PI technique, tracking down witnesses and investigating a culture of sexual assault and harassment ingrained in the university's football program. But as the investigation grows into a national scandal and a historic civil rights case that revolutionizes Title IX law, Erica finds herself increasingly consumed. When the case and her life both implode at the same time, Erica must figure out how to help win the case without losing herself. Trailed, One Woman's Quest to Solve the Shenandoah Murders by Catherine Miles, published in May last year by Algonquin Books. In May 1996, 2 skilled backcountry leaders, Lolly Winans and Julie Williams, entered Virginia's Shenandoah National Park for a week-long backcountry camping trip. The free-spirited and remarkable young couple had met and fallen in love the previous summer while working at a world-renowned outdoor program for women. During their final days in the park, they descended the narrow remnants of a trail and pitched their tent in a hidden spot. After the pair didn't return home as planned, park rangers found a scene of horror at their campsite. The tent slashed open, their beloved dog missing, and both women dead in their sleeping bags. The unsolved murders of Winans and Williams continued to haunt all who had encountered them or knew their story. When award-winning journalist and outdoors expert Catherine Miles begins looking into the case, she discovers conflicting evidence, mismatched timelines, and details that just don't add up. With unprecedented access to crucial crime scene forensics and key witnesses, and with a growing sense of both mission and obsession, she begins to uncover the truth. An innocent man, Miles is convinced, has been under suspicion for decades, while the true culprit is a known serial killer, if only authorities would take a closer look. Intimate, page-turning, and brilliantly reported, Trailed is a love story and a call to justice, and a searching and urgent plea to make wilderness a safe space for women, destined to become a true crime classic. American Khalif, the true story of a Muslim mystic, a Hollywood epic, and the 1977 siege of Washington, D.C. by Shahan Mufti, published by Faraz, Strauss and Giroux in New York on November 22 last year. On March 1977, Washington, D.C. came under attack. 7 men stormed the headquarters of B'nai B'rith International, quickly taking control of the venerable Jewish organization's building and holding more than 100 employees hostage inside. A little over an hour later, 3 more men entered the Islamic Center of Washington, the country's biggest and most important mosque, and took hostages there. 2 others subsequently penetrated the municipal government's district building a few hundred yards from the White House. When the gunmen there opened fire, a reporter was killed, and City Councilor Marion Barry, later to become the mayor of Washington, D.C., was shot in the chest. The deadly standoff brought downtown Washington to a standstill. The attackers belonged to the Hanafi movement, an African-American Muslim group based in D.C. Their leader was a former jazz drummer named Hamas Abdul Khalis, who had risen through the ranks of the Nation of Islam before feuding with the organization's mercurial chief, Elijah Muhammad, and becoming Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's spiritual authority. Like Malcolm X, Khalis paid a price for his apostasy. In 1973, 7 of his family members and followers were killed by nation supporters in one of the district's most notorious murders. As Khalis and the hostage takers took control of the DC targets 4 years later, they vowed to begin killing the hostages unless their demands were met. The federal government must turn over the killers of Khalif's family, the boxer Muhammad Ali and Elijah's son Wallace, so that they could face true justice. They also demanded that the American premiere of Muhammad, Messenger of God, a Hollywood epic about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, financed and supported by the Libyan leader Muammar al-Gaddafi, be cancelled and the film destroyed. Shahan Mufti's American Khalif gives the first full account of the largest ever hostage-taking on American soil and of the tormented man who masterminded. Informed by extensive archival research and hundreds of declassified FBI files, American Khalif tracks the battle for control of American Islam, the international politics of religion and oil, and the hour-to-hour drama of a city facing a homegrown terror assault. The result is a riveting true crime story that sheds new light on the disarray of the 1970s and its ongoing reverberations. Last fact and non-fiction here to be nominated for this category is American Demon, Elliot Ness and the Hunt for America's Jack the Ripper, published by Minotaur on September 6. Boston had its Strangler, California had the Zodiac Killer, and in the deaths of the Great Depression, Cleveland had the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run. On September 5, 1934, a young beachcomber made the gruesome discovery on the shores of Cleveland's Lake Erie. The lower half of a female torso neatly severed at the waist. The victim, dubbed the Lady in the Lake, was only the Lady of the Lake, was only the first of a butcher's dozen. Over the next 4 years, 12 more bodies would be scattered across the city. The bodies were dismembered with surgical precision and drained of blood. Some were beheaded while still alive. Terror gripped the city. Amid the growing uproar, Cleveland's besieged mayor turned to his newly appointed director of public safety, Elliot Ness. Ness had come to Cleveland fresh from his headline-grabbing exploits in Chicago, where he and his band of untouchables led the frontline assault on Al Capone's bootlegging, and now he would confront a case that would redefine his storied career. Award-winning author Daniel Steschauer shines a fresh light on one of the most notorious puzzles in the annals of crime and uncovers the gripping story of how Ness's hunt for a sadistic killer who was as brilliant as he was cool and composed, a mastermind who was able to hide in plain sight. American Demon reconstructs this ultimate battle of wits between a hero and a madman. These are two lists of, I think, very interesting work that is nominated for the Edgar this year. Two of the titles will win. I will tell you all about it on April 27 or April 28. And I will read hopefully 3 or 4 of the long list, not of the long list because they only have the finalists, 3 or 4 of the finalists of the best novels section, because they are available at Stockholm City Library. Tell me if you read any true crime, if you don't, if you watch. On Netflix, for example, I saw the Murdaugh murders. Everybody was talking about the Murdaugh murders, and Alec Murdaugh, the head of the family, the Murdaugh family, was sentenced to life, I think two consecutive lifetime sentences. I just still wonder what that is, 2 consecutive lifetime sentences. After your lifetime, you get another lifetime. It would be great. In prison, 1 lifetime is enough. So, well, anyway, tell me about your experience with true crime. If you hate the genre, if you don't do it, and about your relationship to thrillers. I sometimes really like to read one of these titles, and you see also in the sujets and the topics that they are getting more and more, I think more and more literary fiction-ish, some of them at least. So, this was the crime excursion that I made today, and I see you soon in another video, probably in a wrap-up on Sunday. Bye!